Hello everybody, this is Coach Sonny, and today we're going to work on an assignment that adds up all the numbers that are divisible by 5 from any list of numbers. So we're going to do this in Scratch. The first thing we need to do is somehow make a list in Scratch so that way we can then loop through it, grab the numbers that are divisible by 5, and then somehow add them all together. Okay. In Scratch, you do have the ability to create lists. So if you go to the variables section, you can click under make a list, and then it'll pop out a little window, and I'm going to call it a list of numbers, just like that. And then when you do that, it'll show it in your screen automatically, and it says that it's empty. So we have to now add some values. I want to start simple, so I'm going to add numbers from 1 to 10. And this is how you can achieve that. There's multiple ways, but this is one way. You can first make a loop that repeats 10 times. And then if you go under variables, there is a block that says insert thing or add number to that. So add thing to a list of numbers means that it'll put that in the list so they can reference later. So let's say I put this here and then I type in a 1, and now when I run this, it'll put 10 ones in my list. That's almost what I want because I want them to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, not just a bunch of ones, right? So to change that, I need to have another variable that holds the number that is increasing, that's incrementing. To do that, we can make another variable and call it number, like this. Okay. And then what we can do is in the beginning of the loop, set it to 1. And then after you add the number to the list, you'll make the number change by 1. So this means it starts at 1, it adds to the list, and then it adds 1 to the 1, so it's 2. Puts it in the list, it becomes 3, puts it in the list, so on and so forth, until you have 10 numbers. But now if you noticed, my list length is now 20. I have 10 ones, and then I have 1 through 10 in there as well. What you want to do is get this other block and put it before the loop because you want to clean up, delete everything from the list before you start adding more stuff. So now if I click it, I'll have 1 through 10. I can click it again, click it again, click it again, and it's always going to be in length of 10 because it basically starts from scratch. Get it? Okay, so now that we have that, we can start checking each number and see if they're divisible by 5 or a multiple. The easiest way to find that out is to use something called a modulus, like this. In here, you can put a number, let's say 3, and then 3 modulus of 5. So 3 modulus of 5, let's say make the cat say it. 3 modulus of 5 is 3. But if we do 5 modulus of 5, that's 0. Let's try another number, 2. Okay, and then maybe 10, 0. So if you notice, what's happening is that if it's not divisible by 5 evenly, meaning there's no remainder, it'll just output the number you passed in. So 1 is not divisible, so it spits out a 1. 2 is not divisible, so it spits out 2. Same with 3. Same with 4. And then for 5, it outputs 0 because the remainder of 5 over 5 would be 0. So if you do the same thing for like 10, there's no remainder, 15, but then for 13, the remainder is 3 because 13 over 5 is 2 point whatever, and then 3 is a remainder. So we can use that in order to check if something is divisible evenly by 5, a multiple of 5. To do that, I'm going to have an if statement. And we're going to get this guy right here. And then I'm going to put this at 0 first. So what we're checking is if something mod of 5 equals 0. Like that. So if it's divisible by 5, it'll equal 0. And if that is true, then we can start adding it to something. I'm going to get rid of this say here. Now, another useful thing of a list is that you can get certain elements of the list like this. So this means that it will grab, let me make this smaller. It'll grab the first item of the list, compare the mod 5, and then ask if it's equal to 0. So we're almost there. So the next part is we need to replace this with a variable so that you can check the first one, the second one, the third one, so on and so forth. We can grab this same variable and set it again to 1 because before over here it ended as probably 11 because you started adding and then you repeated 10 times and still added, so it's 11, but I want to set it back to 1. So I have that. So that way I can check this. So I'll check the first one in the list if it's equal to 5 or not. And then you have to increment the value of number, but you also have to repeat this multiple times. So let's see what happens if I run it. If I run it, I still just get a list of 10. Nothing changed there. I have to create another variable that is going to be my sum of numbers, my current sum of numbers. I can get this block right here. So let me build some stuff, some code, and then I'll explain what is happening. I'm going to get a plus, and I'm going to do sum of numbers plus the current number, but I also want to repeat this multiple times, and it's going to be the length of my list, and there's a block for that. Yes, here it is. So the length of the list, and then after the if, I want to change number by 1. So I'm going to make sure, so sum of numbers is here. You can see it right there. So if I run it, I get the number 15. See right here, 15. And that is happening because it is only adding 5 plus 10, because only 5 and 10 are multiples of 5 in a list from 1 to 10. Okay, so what happened here is that, let me pull this out. It'll check if whatever number you're currently in is a mod of 5, so it's equal to 0. If that's true, it'll add it to the sum that we have currently. After it checks, it'll change the number by 1, meaning it'll go to 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5 to check each number. And then this step is the important one. This is the one that decides if you add it to the sum or not. And if you run it again, you'll see that something is being weird because this number keeps increasing. And that's because we need to in the beginning, set it to 0. Same way we did for the other things, like that. So now, each time, it'll only be 15. And you can do this for other numbers. So instead of just being multiples of 5, you can do it for multiples of 2. And if you run that, you get 30. Because it's 2 plus 4 plus 6 plus 8 plus 10. So that's 2 plus 4 is 6, plus 6 is 12, plus 8 is 20, and then plus 10 is 30. So that's about it. This is the code for giving a list. You can count how many multiples of something there are. If you want to make the list bigger, you can just change this repeat to 100. And then if you run it, it'll make a list of 100 and then add all the numbers that are multiples of 2, and you get a total of 2,550. If you want the multiples of 5, just change that to 5, run it again, and then the sum is only 1,050. So this is a very modelable code, meaning you can just change these two numbers, make the list bigger, and then also check for different multiples. So that's all for today's explanation for this assignment. This was Coach Sonny. See you guys later.